When I was just a young boy in Calcutta, I remember sitting by the Ganges one evening, watching the water flow. My mind was racing, jumping from one thought to another like a wild monkey leaping between trees. I wanted to focus on my studies, on my prayers, on understanding the mysteries of life, but my mind simply would not listen to me. It wandered everywhere, chasing after every sound, every sight, every fleeting sensation. And I thought to myself, if I cannot control this mind of mine, how will I ever achieve anything meaningful in this life? How will I ever find peace? How will I ever truly understand who I am? That question haunted me for years. I would sit down to meditate, and within moments, my mind would be thinking about what I had for breakfast, or some conversation I had days ago, or worrying about something that might never even happen. I felt like a slave to my own thoughts. And you know what? I have met thousands of people across this world, from India to America, from Japan to England, and I have seen that same struggle in almost every single person I have ever spoken to. Rich or poor, educated or uneducated, young or old, it does not matter. We all share this one common battle. We are all trying to control this wild, untamed mind that seems to have a will of its own. But here is what I discovered, and this is what I want to share with you today. Your mind is not your enemy. It is not something that needs to be destroyed or suppressed or beaten into submission. No, no, no. Your mind is actually the most powerful tool you will ever possess in this lifetime. It is the key to everything you want to achieve, everything you want to become, every bit of peace and happiness you are searching for. But like any powerful tool, you must learn how to use it properly. You must become its master, not its servant. Think about it this way. Imagine you have the most magnificent horse in the world, strong, fast, capable of taking you anywhere you want to go. But this horse has never been trained. It runs wild, goes in every direction, throws you off its back. Is the horse bad? No. The horse is powerful. It just needs a skilled rider. Your mind is that horse. And you, your true self, your consciousness, your spirit, you are the rider. But most of us have never learned how to ride. We have never been taught. Nobody sits us down when we are children and says, "Let me teach you how to control your thoughts, how to direct your attention, how to master your own inner world." And so, we spend our entire lives being thrown around by our own minds, exhausted, frustrated, wondering why we cannot find peace. Today, I want to teach you how to become that skilled rider. I want to show you the practical, simple methods that actually work. Methods I have tested on myself and taught to countless others. Not complicated philosophy that sounds nice but does not help you when you are lying awake at 3 in the morning with anxiety churning in your chest. Not abstract theories that you cannot apply to your real life. No, I want to give you practical tools that you can start using today, right now, this very moment, to take back control of your mind and, through that, take back control of your entire life. Because here is the truth that nobody wants to tell you. Your suffering is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Your mind is not a passive receiver of reality. It is an active creator of your experience. Every single moment of anxiety, every wave of fear, every spiral of overthinking, these are not being done to you by the world. You are doing them to yourself, unconsciously, automatically, through patterns you have been running for so long that you think they are simply who you are. But they are not who you are. They are simply what you have practiced. Let me say that again, because this is the key that unlocks everything. Your mental and emotional patterns are not your identity. They are simply habits. You have practiced so many times that they have become automatic. And just like any habit, they can be changed, they can be interrupted, they can be replaced with new patterns that actually serve you. This is not positive thinking. This is not about pretending everything is wonderful when it is not. This is about understanding the actual mechanism by which your mind creates suffering, and then using that understanding to stop creating it. Think about this for a moment. When you feel anxious, what is actually happening? Is there a tiger in front of you? Is there an actual, immediate threat to your survival? No. What is happening is that your mind is projecting into the future, imagining all the terrible things that might happen, and then reacting to those imaginary scenarios as if they were real. Your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow. All of this is a physical response to something that exists only in your imagination. This is the insanity we have normalized. We are torturing ourselves with thoughts. We are creating elaborate horror movies in our minds and then wondering why we feel terrible. And the worst part? We defend this madness. We say, but I need to prepare. No, my friend. Preparation is one thing. Mental torture is another entirely. When I prepare for a speech, I organize my thoughts, I practice, I plan, but I don't spend 3 weeks imagining every way the audience might reject me. That's not preparation. That's self-flagellation, disguised as productivity. Your ancestors didn't evolve this magnificent mind so you could use it to terrorize yourself about a conversation that hasn't happened yet. They evolved it so you could survive genuine threats, the tiger in the forest, the rival tribe, the coming storm. But here's what we've done. We've taken that survival mechanism and turned it into a weapon against ourselves. There is no tiger, there is no storm, there is only you, in a comfortable room, inventing reasons to suffer. And we've become so addicted to this suffering that we feel uncomfortable without it. Have you noticed this? When things are actually going well, when there's nothing to worry about, we get anxious about not being anxious. It's too quiet, we say. Something bad must be coming. We search for problems like a dog, digging for bones. We scroll through news designed to terrify us. We create worst-case scenarios for situations that don't even exist yet, and then we wonder why we can't sleep at night. I want you to understand something crucial. Your thoughts are not facts. They are stories. And most of the stories your mind tells you are fiction, badly written fiction at that. Your mind says, everyone will think I'm stupid. That's not a fact. That's a story, and probably an inaccurate one. Your mind says, this will definitely go wrong. Another story. Your mind says, I can't handle this. Yet another story, contradicted by the fact that you've handled every single challenge life has thrown at you so far, because you're still here. The mind is a magnificent storyteller, but it's a terrible prophet. It cannot predict the future. It can only generate scenarios based on past experiences and current fears. And yet we treat its predictions as gospel truth. But there is a deeper question we must ask. Why does the mind create these catastrophic scenarios in the first place? What purpose does this mental theater of disasters serve? The answer lies in an ancient survival mechanism. Your ancestors lived in a world where a rustling in the grass could mean a tiger, where underestimating danger meant death. The nervous system that kept them alive is the same one you carry today. It was designed for immediate physical threats, the predator, the cliff edge, the poisonous snake. But watch what has happened. That same system now responds to an email from your boss with the same intensity it once reserved for a charging animal. Your heart races, reading a social media comment as if you were facing mortal danger. The body cannot distinguish between a threat to your physical survival and a threat to your psychological self-image. This is the tragic comedy of modern anxiety. You are running ancient software on modern hardware, interpreting contemporary challenges through prehistoric programming. And the mind, not understanding this, takes every alarm seriously. It believes every catastrophic thought is a legitimate prediction rather than an evolutionary echo. I watch people catastrophize about social situations that carry zero actual danger. What if I say something stupid at the meeting? The mind immediately projects humiliation, loss of respect, career destruction, social isolation, destitution. From one potentially awkward comment to complete life collapse in 3 seconds. The same neural pathways that once evaluated life and death situations now process the possibility of social discomfort. And here is what reporting 7 sex makes it worse. The more you engage with these catastrophic thoughts, the stronger the neural pathways become. Each time you mentally rehearse disaster, you train your brain to go there more quickly next time. You are literally practicing anxiety, becoming more skilled at catastrophizing with each repetition. Your brain is like a path through a forest. The route you walk most often becomes the clearest trail. If you consistently walk the path of catastrophic thinking, that trail becomes a highway. Soon, your mind automatically travels that route without conscious decision. The catastrophe becomes your default destination. But here's where the story shifts. Here's where the power returns to your hands. You are not just a passenger on this highway. You are the architect. You hold the tools to clear the path, to redirect the road. Your brain, this magnificent instrument, possesses something called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire, to rebuild, to forge new pathways even after decades of traveling the old ones. This is not wishful thinking. This is neuroscience meeting ancient wisdom. When you consciously choose a different thought, when you deliberately interrupt the catastrophic pattern, you begin to clear the overgrown trail of possibility. The first time is difficult. The undergrowth is thick, the way unclear. Your mind protests, wanting to return to the familiar highway of disaster, but you persist. The second time is slightly easier. The third time, easier still. Each repetition is like taking a machete to that overgrown path, clearing it inch by inch. And simultaneously, each time you refuse to travel the catastrophic highway, grass begins to grow over it. The asphalt cracks. Nature reclaims what was once dominant. This is how transformation happens, not in one dramatic moment, but in 10,000 small choices. I watch people seek the lightning bolt of change. They want the instant awakening, the sudden enlightenment that rewrites their entire mental landscape overnight. And while such moments can occur, they are not the foundation of lasting transformation. The foundation is built in the mundane moments. In the morning when anxiety whispers its first lie, and you choose to question it rather than believe it. In the afternoon when catastrophic thinking offers its familiar script, and you consciously write a different line. In the evening when worry tries to steal your peace, and you anchor yourself in what is real rather than what is feared. These small moments are not insignificant. They are everything. Think of a river carving through stone. No single drop of water breaks the rock. But 10,000 years of drops, flowing consistently in one direction, creates a canyon. Your thoughts are those drops. Your attention is that river. Where you direct it consistently, canyons will form. So I ask you now, what canyon are you carving? Are you carving the canyon of catastrophe, deepening the groove of disaster with deepening the by every anxious thought? Or are you beginning, drop by drop, to carve a new path, one that leads toward possibility, toward resilience, toward the truth of your own strength? This choice, my friends, is not made once. It is made moment by moment, thought by thought. The river does not ask permission to flow, it simply flows. And so too must your practice become, not a burden you carry, but a direction you choose, again and again. There was a time in my own life when I stood at the edge of complete uncertainty. I had left my home, my family, the comfort of everything known. I wandered across India with nothing but a staff and a dream too large for my own understanding. There were days when hunger carved hollow spaces in my body. Days when doubt whispered its poison. You have made a mistake. Turn back. You are foolish to believe you matter. And in those moments, I had a choice. I could listen to that voice, let it carve its canyon deeper. Or I could turn my attention elsewhere to the vast sky above me, to the kindness of strangers who shared their meager bread, to the divine presence I felt pulsing through everything, even through my own suffering. I chose the latter, not because I was special, not because I was free from fear, but because I understood something fundamental. Where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, life grows. You see, the catastrophic mind feeds on attention, like fire feeds on oxygen. The more you attend to disaster, the more vivid it becomes, the more real it feels, until you can no longer distinguish between imagination and reality. You rehearse conversations that will never happen. You prepare for tragedies that exist only in the theater of your skull, and in doing so, you rob yourself of the only moment in which you actually have power, this one. Right now. But here is the beautiful paradox. The same mechanism that traps you can also liberate you. The same mind that can spiral into catastrophe can also spiral into dumb wisdom. It simply needs a new direction, a new groove for the water to follow. The ancient yogis discovered something remarkable about the mind. They found that just as a muscle grows stronger with repeated use, the pathways in our consciousness deepen with repetition. Whatever you practice, you become. This is not philosophy, this is the architecture of human transformation. Think of a musician learning a difficult piece. At first, every note requires conscious effort, every movement feels awkward. But through patient repetition, something miraculous happens. The fingers begin to know the way. The music flows without thinking. The pathway has been carved so deep that it becomes second nature. Your mind operates on this same principle. Every time you choose anxiety over peace, you are practicing anxiety. Every time you rehearse disaster in your thoughts, you are becoming an expert in suffering. You are literally training yourself in misery. And this is the key that unlocks everything. Every time you redirect that worried thought, every time you catch yourself catastrophizing and gently bring your mind back to the present moment, you are carving a different pathway. You are training yourself in freedom. I met a woman once who spent 30 years convinced she was dying of various diseases. Every headache was a tumor. Every chest pain was a heart attack. She had seen dozens of doctors, undergone countless tests, all negative. Her body was healthy, but her mind had worn such a deep groove of health anxiety that every sensation automatically triggered alarm. One day, after yet another clean test result, she made a decision. She would treat her anxious thoughts like weather. When the thought came, "This pain means something terrible," she would simply note it, "There is an anxious thought." She wouldn't fight it, wouldn't believe it, wouldn't feed it with more thinking. Just acknowledge and return to her breathing, to the present moment. The first week was agony. Every fiber of her being wanted to dive into the anxiety, to check symptoms online, to call doctors. But she held her ground. And something extraordinary began to happen. The thoughts still came, but they lost their power. They became like clouds passing through the sky of her awareness present, but not defining her entire reality. This is the practice of rewiring, not through force, not through positive thinking that denies reality, but through patient redirection of attention. The Vedantic texts describe this beautifully. They say, "The mind is like a lake. When the surface is constantly disturbed by the winds of desire and fear, you cannot see your own reflection. But as the disturbance is quiet, not eliminated, just gradually settling, the water becomes clear. And in that clarity, you see what was always there. The sky reflected perfectly. The depths visible for the first time." This is not a metaphor for perfection. This is a metaphor for seeing clearly. I want you to understand something that might seem counterintuitive. The goal is not happiness. Not in the way we usually think of it. The goal is not to feel good all the time, to eliminate difficult emotions, or to achieve some permanent state of bliss. That's a trap, another form of attachment that will only cause suffering. The goal is freedom. Freedom to feel whatever arises without being destroyed by it. Freedom to experience joy without clinging to it desperately. Freedom to face pain without being consumed by it. This freedom comes from understanding that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions move. This is not philosophy. This is direct experience available to anyone willing to look. There was a time in my own life when I questioned everything. After my teacher Ramakrishna passed, I went through a period of intense doubt. The spiritual experiences I had known seemed distant. The certainty I once felt had evaporated. I wandered, seeking, questioning, sometimes despairing, and in that darkness, something crystallized. I realized that even my doubt was an experience arising in awareness. Even my despair was not the totality of who I was. There was something observing even these states, something unchanging beneath all the change. This is what I mean by awakening. Not a dramatic explosion of light, though sometimes it feels that way, but a subtle recognition that you are already whole, already complete, already free. The chains were always made of thought. The prison was always constructed from belief. And when this recognition dawns not as intellectual understanding, but as lived reality, everything transforms, while nothing changes. The world remains precisely as it was. The responsibilities do not vanish. The challenges do not disappear. But the one who faces them is no longer bound by the story of limitation. You move through the same circumstances, but from an entirely different center. This is what I learned, not in the Himalayas, not in meditation caves, not in monasteries, but in the marketplace, in the railway stations, in conversations with beggars and kings alike. Freedom is not found by escaping life. Freedom is found by meeting life so completely, so authentically, that the false self has nowhere left to hide. You see, most people believe that spiritual awakening means becoming special, elevated, separate from ordinary existence. They imagine enlightenment as a permanent state of bliss where nothing disturbs, nothing challenges, nothing requires effort. This is perhaps the most dangerous fantasy of all. True freedom does not remove you from the human experience. It allows you to be fully human without being imprisoned by your humanity. You feel anger, but but you are not consumed by it. You experience fear, but you are not controlled by it. You know disappointment, but you are not defined by it. The awakened one still stumbles, still makes mistakes, still learns and grows, but there is no longer a narrator turning every experience into evidence of unworthiness. There is simply life, meeting itself, moment by moment, without the weight of accumulated story. I have watched people spend decades pursuing this freedom through elaborate practices, complex philosophies, restrictive disciplines. And I tell you, honestly, these things can serve as pointers, but they can also become more sophisticated forms of avoidance. Another way to delay the simple recognition that you are already what you seek. This does not mean practice is useless, but practice becomes truly transformative only when it emerges from freedom rather than seeking it. When you meditate, not to become peaceful, but because peace is already your nature. When you serve, not to become good, but because compassion flows naturally when the self-construct loosens its grip. The radical message, the one that threatens every spiritual industry, every promise of future attainment is this: you do not need to become anything other than what you already are. You need only to stop pretending to be what you are not. Every spiritual practice you undertake, every meditation you sit, every scripture you study, understand this clearly. These are not ladders climbing toward divinity. They are erasers, removing the false writing you have scrawled across the pristine page of your being. The Buddha sits under the tree not to gain enlightenment, but to stop running from it. Christ goes into the wilderness not to acquire godhood, but to strip away everything that pretends to be other than God. Every genuine teaching points to subtraction, not addition. But see how we corrupt this. We turn meditation into achievement, silence into commodity, presence into goal. I have watched spiritual seekers accumulate practices like merchants hoard gold. 10,000 hours of meditation logged like business transactions, retreat after retreat. Attended, each one another badge of spiritual seriousness. Teacher after teacher consulted, as if divinity were a puzzle requiring the right combination of expert opinions, and all the while, that which they seek watches through their very eyes, beats in their searching hearts, breathes in their anxious lungs. The addiction to becoming runs so deep that we cannot simply be. We must be times someone times being. We must be times advanced seekers, times or times dedicated practitioners, times or times serious students asterisk. Strip away these labels, what remains? Not emptiness, but fullness. Not absence, but presence so complete it requires no announcement. When a child laughs, lost in the moment, divine expression flows unobstructed. When an artist disappears into creation, that creates through apparently individual hands. When a mother forgets herself in love for her child, universal compassion takes specific form. In these moments of self-forgetting, your true nature shines obvious and unobstructed. But the mind rushes. Immediately, how do I recreate that state? What technique produces that experience? How do I become the kind of person who lives from that place always? And in that very movement, you have left the garden, eaten the fruit of knowledge, chosen the becoming over the being.